Hello, welcome to our podcast where we discuss the latest topics in corporate governance and sustainability. I'm Sarah, and together with my co host Gordon, we bring you the latest episode of our podcast, In Words, Insights on Governance and Sustainability.
Hi, Sarah. It's great to be back. We've got an important topic today on carbon management. It's quickly becoming a key discussion point in boardrooms throughout the world, isn't it?
It sure is, and it's not just the big players in the market who need to pay attention. Even smaller companies are getting drawn into the carbon conversation. It's all about managing and reporting carbon emissions, and that's becoming a core business priority now.
Absolutely. What's driving all this? It's regulations. Throughout the years, both publicly listed companies and major private enterprises have been subject to reporting requirements. But here's the twist. Smaller companies, those in the supply chain, need to pay attention too, because their emissions numbers feed into the reports of the bigger firms they work with.
There's also pressure from global investors who want transparency. Speaking of the global context, there is the International Sustainability Standards Board, or ISSB. Gordon, can you tell us more?
Sure thing. The ISSB standards are called IFRS S1 and IFRS S2. S1 covers the general requirements for disclosing sustainability-related financial information. S2, on the other hand, is all about climate-related disclosures. Together, they set out what companies need to report, and that covers carbon emissions in a pretty comprehensive way.
You mentioned comprehensive. That means companies need to look at all three scopes of emissions. Let's break that down for our listeners. Scope 1 is direct emissions from things like company vehicles and manufacturing equipment. Pretty straightforward, right?
Exactly. Scope 1 is what your own business activities pump out. Scope 2 is the indirect emissions from the electricity, steam, or heat you buy. So if you're using grid power, those emissions count as Scope 2.
And then there's Scope 3, which is a bit of a wild card. It covers everything else in your value chain, from the goods and services you buy to how your products are used by customers. It even includes things like employee commuting.
Right, and Scope 3 can sometimes be the biggest piece of the puzzle, especially for businesses with complex supply chains. That's why even small and medium-sized enterprises get pulled in. They're suppliers, they're customers, they're part of the ecosystem.
That ripple effect is huge. So, how does a company actually manage its carbon emissions? There's a process: measurement, reduction, and mitigation. Let's start with measurement.
Measurement is about establishing your baseline. You need to know your Scope 1, Scope 2, and the relevant parts of Scope 3. For Scope 1, you're looking at direct emissions, say from your own vehicles or machinery, record fuel use, maintenance, that sort of thing.
Scope 2 is about your purchased energy. So, you check your utility bills, use energy meters, and apply grid-specific emission factors. It's a bit technical, but important.
And then Scope 3. Here companies might use employee surveys, supplier reports, even logistics data to estimate emissions. It's complex because it covers everything connected to your business. But focusing on the categories most relevant to your operations helps.
Once you've got the numbers, the next step is reduction. That means setting clear, science-based targets. It's not just about offsetting. Companies are encouraged to actually reduce their emissions, like switching to renewable energy before thinking about offsets.
Yes, prioritize reduction and substitution, and track your progress with interim milestones. It keeps everyone honest and moving forward.
Mitigation is the last step. This is where carbon management becomes part of the wider business strategy. It influences big decisions related to capital investments, product development, and supply chain management. Gordon, what are some key actions here?
For starters, use energy management systems to track and improve efficiency. Automated tools can monitor usage and emissions in real time. That highlights where the inefficiencies are and where you can make improvements.
Sustainable procurement is crucial too. Choose suppliers with strong environmental credentials. That's especially helpful for Scope 3 since it often represents the largest chunk of a company's carbon footprint.
And don't forget life cycle assessment. That's about measuring a product's environmental impact from cradle to grave and then redesigning with sustainability in mind. It might mean using recyclable materials, cutting packaging, or making products that need less energy to produce and use.
Let's talk about carbon taxes. These are coming in more countries. Companies need to get ready for the fact that carbon-intensive activities will cost more. That makes the case for strong carbon management even stronger.
And when it comes to offsets, there's the voluntary carbon market. Verified carbon credits can be used to offset emissions. But Sarah, these should complement a company's carbon strategy, not replace it.
That's right. The goal is often expressed as carbon neutrality or net zero, and there's a difference. Carbon neutrality means balancing carbon dioxide emissions, often through offsets. Net zero covers all greenhouse gases, and it's a bigger commitment. It means abating all emissions across all scopes and only using offsets for the emissions you truly can't eliminate.
The distinction matters for boards and senior management. Leading companies are already using carbon management to manage risks, uncover new growth opportunities, and build resilience.
So, understanding carbon reporting and strategies can help the organization to stay competitive in a low carbon economy. If you want your business to thrive, you need to get ahead of these trends.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's all for today's episode. If you're a business owner or manager, start thinking about your carbon footprint. It's not just good for the planet, it's a smart business move too.
Thanks for tuning into our podcast. This is brought to you by the Center for Governance and Sustainability at the National University of Singapore Business School. Follow us, and we will see you again.